Welcome to the official page of Shresht Kala Sangam. I am Shanki Kumar this side. I'm a psychologist by profession and I practice in Dr. B.L. Kapoor Super Speciality Hospital. Today I've got this wonderful opportunity to give a live lecture on the topic mental health, mind and body in lockdown. Before we start with the lecture, let's do a fun quick activity. So wherever you're sitting, I want you to just stop thinking about everything right now and think of a color. You can think of any color from the whole spectrum, from the reds to the blacks, the blues, the greens, yellows, orange, whatever it is that you like. But when you think of a color, think of that color as your essence. Imagine that color will depict how you're feeling for the day. Imagine that color running all over your body. Take 5 seconds and just think of any color that you may like. Now, I know all of us have had different days, hence, we would end up picking different colors. A lot of people who would be feeling more powerful or maybe a more stronger emotion would imagine red. And the people who've enjoyed the hailstorm that just happened right now would maybe imagine green, a color of the nature. So I just did this quick exercise to bring your attention directly to this lecture and to sort of make you listen to it more actively. Now, getting back to the lecture, here we are today to discuss about the lockdown and how it is impacting our mental health. It is a very unexpected time for all of us. None of us have seen anything like this in our lifetimes, and we've not been prepared for it. So it gives us a lot of uncertainty. We as human beings enjoy planning everything very meticulously, having more in depth details about how we want to plan a trip or even how we want to plan our work. And here, the opportunity of planning this has been taken away from us. So it gives you a sense of loss, a sense of uncertainty. However, it is important for us as a society not to underestimate the cognitive and the emotional load that this pandemic brings to the table. It will no doubt affect our productivity in the short term as well as in the long term. Lockdown in itself is emotionally challenging. It can lead to a lot of feelings of uncertainty, worry, fear, anxiety, a lot of anger, a lot of these feelings which one is not commonly susceptible to, right? It's absolutely normal to feel all this. There will be moments, there will be instances where you will feel lack of motivation or you will feel sudden changes in your mood and you will have difficulty concentrating. And just understand these are the emotional and the mental repercussions that we have because of the lockdown. Having said that, it is equally important for us to understand that it is manageable. Our bodies will adapt to it quickly, and soon things will start to seem better than they feel today. Another thing which gives me a lot of strength is to feel that we're all in this together. We all are going through this as a community, as a society, as a country, and as part of the world. The kind of negative feelings that you are feeling are very similar to what I would feel for majority of the day. So you're not alone in this. We're all in it together. Like I say, it's very, very important for us to understand that we can't change a lot of things that life brings to the forefront. But we have the powerful ability to see how we respond to those situations. And we can choose not to react, but to respond in a very efficient way. We as humans have the power to be more constructive, to be more creative, to be more productive, and to be more positive despite it being such a crisis situation. It is very important for us to understand how our mind and our body is getting affected in this situation. Your mental health affects how you think, how you feel, how you act, and it also affects your physical health, the immunity of your body, and how your body reacts to certain diseases and it recovers. It's not only the lockdown that we are dealing with, but we are also dealing with this whole negative environment around us. Every day we realize that we're getting the news of this increasing. The number of deaths are increasing, the number of casualties, and the way COVID is spreading, it is indeed life threatening. So, all these feelings are justified. But it is also equally important for you to do small, small things that give you a more balanced state of mind, that put you in a slightly more positive space of mind. So, I have come down with a plan with 6 A's that can help you deal with pandemic in a better way. The first A is acknowledge and accept. Acknowledge that it's a tough time. It is something that's not okay for all of us. It is absolutely not something that we could have prepared for in any way. So acknowledge all the feeling that are happening. It is only normal for you to feel that way. It is very important for you to focus on things that you can change and accept things that you cannot change. You will notice when you talk about all the things that you can't change, like going out in the lockdown, getting back to work, all the other activities, you would feel a sense of helplessness, a sense of hopelessness. Versus when you use the same energy to focus on things that you can change, how you use majority of the hours of your day, what you make out of it, that will feel more productive, that will give you more ownership of your day. So try and see the distinction. Are you focusing on something that's beyond your control, or are you focusing on something that you can change? It is equally important for you to acknowledge your emotions and regulate them. Try doing this small thing. When you describe to someone how you're feeling, rather than saying, I'm feeling angry, try saying, I am noticing that I'm starting to feel angry. Just this shift in dialogue would help you understand that this anger is only a part of what you're feeling because of certain external conditions, and it's not a part of you. This way, you'll be able to distance yourself from that emotion and deal with it in a better way, not let it get onto you. When you start acknowledging your emotions, you will also start to acknowledge your narratives for the day. Try and see how is it that you talk to people in this lockdown. Is your narrative more negative, where you talk about all the negative things that are happening in the lockdown, or is your narrative more positive, where you're trying and seeing on what are the positives that are happening in the lockdown? Say for example, when I read the news that the ozone layer depletion is getting better, or the kind of beautiful weather that we're getting to enjoy in the month of May, or reading about dolphins returning back to the oceans where you stopped spotting them. All this makes me feel that nature deserved this break. It's like nature is breathing again. So when you shift your narrative from negative to positive, it will also help in creating a more holistic and a more positive mind space. The second A is ask yourself. I would urge you to ask a very simple question. Before you engage in any action, just ask yourself, is it something that's helping me, or is it something that's harming me? When you make that decision, it's like it puts you back to the driving seat of the car. It puts you back in the control, where you understand the onus of making this decision lies solely and solely on you. And you will feel very powerful about that decision. Also, there's another question that I ask myself. In some spaces, I continue to worry about things that are beyond my control. And it seems like a loop of thought going on in my head. So, when you feel that you're undergoing a lot of stress because of certain issues, why don't you make a list of them? Write them down and then ask yourself, can I fix this? Is there anything that I can do to make it okay? If yes, devise a plan in the current conditions on what you can do about it. If no, stop worrying about it. But asking yourself that question more consciously will make you feel more in control of the situation, like how I was describing the other tactics that you could use. The third A is attention. Carefully choose where you're focusing your attention. Be very careful about what you consume. In the news, in all the other aspects, it will have a very strong impact on your mood. What you watch, who you talk to, the kind of conversations that you have in a day will determine your mood for the rest of the day. Like, for example, the other day I ended up watching a very intense, a very sad movie. And I realized that I was feeling very exhausted and very dull for the remaining part of the day. In normal circumstances, whenever you would engage in any form of entertainment, immediately you would go out, meet a friend, engage in some other social interaction, and that would not be something that will continue to dominate your mood or how you feel. But in today's situation, since we don't have too many distractions available around, be very wary of what you watch and the kind of things that you expose yourself to. Now, in this domain, the most important factor is to minimize corona time. You have to be very careful on what kind of information about COVID do you take in. Draw that line between credible information coming from a trusted source versus opinions of people, which are not important at all. It is very imperative for you to listen to the speeches given by our prime minister or by the chief ministers of the cities so that you are well prepared, so that you can plan and safeguard yourself and your family. But over engaging in a lot of news, being very updated about the vaccines, instills that sense of hopelessness in an individual. So try and restrict yourself on the kind of news that you engage in. The fourth A is adhering to a routine. Experts all over the world state that when you have a sense of routine, when you have your day organized, it brings a sense of productivity. It makes you feel like you've got your day in control. It makes you feel that you look forward to your day. I agree, in the current situation, there is not much that we can do, but we can still have small routines that we can have throughout the day to keep us reinforced for the remaining day. I know so many people who start their day by engaging in news, maybe reading the newspaper, maybe watching the television, or scrolling on your phone for the main news. I don't think that's a very good idea right now because you start your day by putting yourself in that zone. Rather, have a morning ritual where you enjoy your tea or coffee with your family, where you may be listening to some bhajans or some artis to put yourself in a very calm state of mind to start your day with. Also, in your routine, what is important is nutrition. Make sure you eat well. Make sure you eat at regular intervals and eat at certain times. What you eat would directly impact on how you feel in your body and in your mind. So choose wisely. Another thing that's important is to keep yourself well hydrated. Because we're at home, so it's harder for us to consume the necessary amount of water that our bodies require. But I'm sure if you set reminders, if you try and push yourself, you can do that in a better way. Exercising is something that has been constrained because we can't be going out right now to the parks, to the gyms, but we still have more ways in which we could be exercising at home. How about making it a more family workout? How about setting a time that every evening at 6 p.m. for half an hour, we as a family would engage in some sort of activity or exercise which helps us sweat it out? When you sweat, your body releases endorphins. The endorphins automatically put your mind in a more pleasant space. So make it a more fun family activity where you could be doing the simplest form of exercises that we learned in school. Another important aspect is your sleep. With respect to sleep, it is equally important to focus on the number of hours that you need and also when you get these hours. So, for example, if someone is sleeping at 11 p.m. and waking up at 7 a.m., they would feel way more refreshed and energized than another person who's choosing to sleep at 4 p.m. and waking up at 4 a.m. and waking up at 12 p.m. The hours plus the time when you sleep, they're both very important. And try to have routines in terms of the time that you sleep, when you wake up, your eating times. This will put your body in a natural rhythm on how it's supposed to be on general days. And you will find this to be very relaxing and very emotionally comforting. Also, another thing that has been affected is your self grooming. Because we would go to work, engage in a lot of social interactions, we would make sure that we're perfectly groomed all the time. But now, because we're at home and we're in casual clothes, so it itself puts you in a very slow space. Just try to dress up more smartly. I don't mean you have to be dressed up in formals, dress up in the most comfortable clothes, but just make an effort on matching, on being more smart about it. The concept of power dressing is huge, and what it means is that when you end up wearing something that you feel good in, something that you feel smart in, it automatically makes you feel more confident and have a greater self esteem than when you're dressed up in something which is not so powerful. So try using it to your benefit. In your routine, make sure nutrition, sleep, exercise, hydration, and grooming, they're all an important part. The more you take care of them, the more easier your journey of this pandemic will become. The fifth thing is affection. We as human beings are social beings. Majority of our time is spent on interacting with other people, be it at our workplace, be it at the social interactions. We're constantly surrounded by people around us, and suddenly we've come to a space where that is no longer possible. So make sure you keep in touch with your loved ones over video calls. That will somewhat make up for the loss of human touch that we're starting to deal with. And also, it will be a connection that you have with the outside world. But despite doing that, it is also important for one to be aware that how much is too much. Know when to draw those boundaries. When you're over engaging, and that sorts of put you in that space where you start judging yourself. Like I remember when I would see everybody posting about the amazing dishes that they're cooking and how everybody is becoming a master chef and a food blogger, I started feeling, why am I not being able to do it? It felt like that's a benchmark that I have to do in order to feel productive. But don't do that. Don't put yourself in that space where you're unnecessarily judging yourself or burdening yourself. The way you react to it could be very different from the way someone else is reacting to it. Also, it is very important for you to be mindful of the people around in your house. It is as difficult and as novel for them as it is for you. The young people might be struggling with a loss of independence. The people who are working might be going through a loss of productivity. And people who are already constrained at home, like older people or younger kids, they would be dealing with, they would sort of want more alone time because they're not so used to having everybody around. So be more empathetic and compassionate towards people in the house and understand it's a difficult time for all of you together. Also, it is essential for one to be careful with the vulnerable populations, which would be older people, younger kids, pregnant women, people who are already undergoing some sort of physical or mental conditions. Just be slightly more empathetic towards them, and that is something that will make all the difference. The sixth and the last A is allocating your time well. What you do with your free time is something that will define how you utilized the whole lockdown phase. I would have a lot of clients who would constantly say, if I had more free time, I would do this. If I had slightly more relaxed work timings, I would have definitely made that change. Why don't all of you reflect a little and see what is it that you would say when you were so occupied? What is it that was already kept really low on that list because there was no time? This is your opportunity of doing it. Seize the day, utilize this opportunity, and utilize this free time that you have right now. Also, it's important for you to understand that you should utilize your time more in creating content rather than absorbing content. When you absorb content, it's a very passive thing to do. But when you're creating content, you're very actively involved. So the end goal of that would make you feel very reinforced. It would make you feel very productive. So engage more in creating content, even if it is writing down something that you feel, drawing something, painting something, learning something new, and there are lots of opportunities out there. Recently, I signed up for a course which is Understanding Hinduism. It's something that's always fascinated me, but I've never had the time and the freedom to read about it as passionately as I would want to, because I would always find myself occupied with psychology. And there are various online free courses that are available. So check them out and see what is it that interests you and what is it that you always wanted to learn. Having said that, it is equally important for you to understand that you should listen to your body and see what you feel like. It is not a productivity battle going on out there. There would be days where you would feel very productive. There would be days where you would find just watching a movie to be more calming than engaging in something. So be aware of what you're feeling and what your body and mind is asking for. It is absolutely okay to not want to engage in anything and watch a movie at times. So keep shifting, keep feeling what is it that you want to do right now. In situations where you feel slightly more overwhelmed, practice certain relaxation techniques, maybe meditation, maybe certain breathing exercises. Practice them and see how they can quickly impact your mood. One thing that helps me particularly is to practice gratitude. If I sit down and I ask myself, what is it that I'm thankful for today? It would be like, I'm so thankful that I'm breathing right now. I'm physically healthy. I'm very thankful that I've got this opportunity to interact with all of you today. When you start focusing on things that you're grateful for, your mind will automatically start shifting from a sense of criticism to a sense of hopefulness, to a sense of thankfulness, and make sure you practice it. Another thing that can be a quick fix can be having a list of mood shifters. Mood shifters are activities that you can engage in for an instant upliftment in your mood. It can be a certain food that you like, it can be a particular song, a particular movie, a particular show that you enjoy. And whenever in time you feel slightly more overwhelmed, go back to your list of mood shifters and pick one thing out of that list and see how your mood can change in such a short amount of time. Since we're talking about relaxation techniques, I would like to teach you a very quick coping relaxation technique. If we focus on why we feel particularly more stressed, it is because we're either focused more in the past or we're focusing our attention more in the future. When we focus on the past, we just draw comparisons on life was like this. This is how things were. Why is it not the same right now? And when we think more about the future, we get into a space of apprehension, not knowing what tomorrow would be like. So, this relaxation exercise would bring your attention, would bring your focus back to the present. It involves very simple things. Just ask yourself 5 questions when you're feeling slightly overpowered with negativity or stress. Notice 5 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, and 1 thing that you can taste. Now, what this activity does, it uses all your sense organs to sort of bring that attention back to the present moment. What you're seeing around you, what you're touching around you, what you're hearing around you, what you're tasting. And it sorts of takes that stress away in that moment of time. So try it the next time and let's see if it makes you feel better. Now, we've just spoken about the current impact of the lockdown and the COVID situation. It is equally important for you to understand that the pandemic will also have long term impacts. So, there will be anxiety, there will be stress, there will be certain emotions that you would experience even after this whole situation has finished. But how you utilize your time right now, how you take care of your mind and your body right now, that is something that can prove as a very strong resilient factor against preventing you in the future. So utilize this opportunity, not just to better your today, but also to better your tomorrow. The most important thing is to keep a check on your feelings. If you're feeling very overwhelmed, if you're feeling that you're unable to cope with this situation, seek help. There are various opportunities out there by government organizations and private organizations where you can go and seek help from a mental health professional. It will only help you. It is absolutely okay to not be okay. It is absolutely okay to go out there and seek that help. Please do that. And it will give you that extra push that you need to face this situation. At the end of it, just remember you will not just be a pandemic survivor. This is only a part of your story. This is not your whole story. So see it as a very temporary situation. See it at the darkness before you start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. And when you start viewing it like that, you will start to feel more positive. And there's something that stays close to my heart, which I heard in a movie. It is that happiness is the journey, it's not the outcome. It is this journey that will stay in your heart, not just the outcome of the situation. And this is a story that in the future you would be telling to your grandkids or even other generations that will follow. So make it a good one. Make it a good, exciting story. Thank you so much for listening to me. I hope I was able to provide you at least some help and some quick tips that are relatable that you can start to apply in your life. And thank you so much to Shresht Kala Sangam for giving me this opportunity to speak to all of you. Thank you and take care of yourself.